Carl, tanks, mobile rocket artillery, and advanced short-range ballistic missiles, just some of the equipment being stationed now in western Russia. New satellite images, as you were saying, released by Maxar Technologies, showing a buildup about 100 miles away from the Ukrainian border. Now, these pictures coming just hours after Moscow and Washington exchanged warnings about the effects that any escalation would mean for the ongoing standoff. And speaking at an annual news conference on Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin making it very clear what actions he says would be crossing a red line.
There must be no further expansion of NATO eastward. The ball is in their court. They should reply with something to us. In this regard, I would like to note that in general, we see a positive reaction from the U.S. Partners tell us that they're ready to start this discussion of these negotiations in the very beginning of next year in Geneva.
And shortly after, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki essentially responding to those comments, saying no meeting has been confirmed at this time, but she did verify the increased movements of Kremlin personnel to Western Russia, including right now a buildup of over 100,000 troops. Now, we do know that the two sides are working towards a meeting sometime next month, but certain preconditions, such as the ones just laid out by Russian President Putin, may stand in the way of any meaningful progress.
I can't speak to what President Putin's motivation is at any point in time, certainly not today. We are working towards diplomatic talks. There have been proposals put forward by the Russians. Some we would agree with, some we certainly wouldn't agree with. Obviously, on the NATO example is a good example of that.
But the U.S. is standing firm in its position that any invasion of Ukraine would trigger dire consequences for Russia. In addition to sanctions, which we know the White House is preparing for, administration officials say that an escalation would be met with the very type of action that Russian President Putin is trying to prevent, which is an increased NATO presence in Eastern Europe to deter Moscow's aggression. Carl?
All right, Alex, stay safe out there. Merry Christmas. Appreciate your report on this. All right, so joining us now for more reaction on the growing tensions between Russia and Ukraine is Major General Michael McGuire, former adjunct general of the National Guard in Arizona and former chairman of the board of the National Guard Association of the United States. General, welcome to the program. Merry Christmas. And my first question to you is the geopolitical fallout, the division and the lines drawn that this single debate we'll call it a debate because it's not a war yet, but the single greatest negotiations here. What happens if this divides Europe's view with America's view, with China's view and Russia's view?
Well, good morning, Carl. Thanks for having me. You know, you and I talked about a few months ago after the collapse in Kabul about our weakened position on the world stage. And I think we're seeing with China's actions in the South China Sea and now Putin's aggression on the eastern border of Ukraine, that these actors are emboldened by weak leadership by Biden. Now, clearly, what I hope happens is we have some diplomatic activity, hold a firm line, and protect our allies. But as I've said on your show previously, Carl, I'm very reluctant to put our U.S. service members in harm's way unless we have a full roll call vote and we get serious about our own problems on the southwest border before we fix all the problems in Ukraine.
Well, you bring up an interesting point there, but you know, obviously Russia hasn't invaded Ukraine since the last time Joe Biden was in the White House as the vice president. However, if we continue to go down this road of appeasement, which we've done before, I mean, Barack Obama drew the line in the sand, said do not cross into Ukraine, do not do this. They did it anyway, and we did basically nothing. We had a couple sanctions here and there. But like you're saying, nobody messed with this during the Trump presidency because they didn't know how to deal with Trump on this. They weren't sure the level of aggression he would take it to, which people in America called him crazy for. However, it worked on a global stage. So when you're seeing this foreign policy, which is what Joe Biden ran on, he ran on, you know, I know the game. I've been in D.C. 50 years. My experience on foreign policy with the help of my climate czar, John Kelly, we can, or Kerry, sorry, could help solve all the world's problems. But what we're seeing now is the devolvement and people doing whatever they want. And it puts places like Europe in a really tough position, who not only rely on Russia for their fuel and natural gas and energy, but also our alliance with them is going to be stretched because they're going to have to choose potentially a different path than us, no?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to put all of our world alliances at risk because we can't be taken at our word. We have a history here of peace through strength, meaning that your words mean something.
Right.
And if you saw the press conference last week with President Biden, where he said he'll never put troops in harm's way, and in the next question he said he's going to add people there. So I'm an American citizen and retired after 38 years in uniform, like you, Carl.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's saying. I guarantee our allies aren't sure what he's saying.
Yeah. Well, former director of national intelligence and the ambassador to Germany, who's now here over at Newsmax, Rick Grinnell, discussed growing tensions between Putin and Kiev yesterday on Rob Schmidt. Listen to this.
The reality is that Joe Biden is the weakness here. He is the link. He was vice president when Putin saw, well, now's a good time to grab Crimea right after the Olympics. And now there's a buildup as we're leading towards the Olympics. I think this is a really dangerous moment. I think that we know that countries like China and Russia and Iran are all looking at Joe Biden and saying, this is not someone with a credible threat of military action. We think we can make a move.
So, General, do you think if we allow, I'd say allow, but if you think if we do nothing and Putin invades, Ukraine again, are they going to continue their aggression if they get away with it?
Bad behavior begets more bad behavior, Carl. And we've seen this before. A weakness, mixed messaging, and clear lack of resolve by the leadership of this country in the Biden administration is leading to maligned actors around the world seeing opportunity. Look no further than Hamas, look at the Taliban, look at China, and the most recent example here in Russia. We are weaker with a Biden administration and the radical left taking control. That's why I got in this Senate race. We got to seize back control from the radical left. They want to destroy this nation.
Yeah. Well, Major General Michael McGuire, we appreciate your insight on this, sir. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Carl.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.